back again for a Watford matchday vlog. It's Watford versus West Ham. It's been a while. Brentford was the last time, and it's going to be an interesting one for sure. Not an easy game. Tough game. West Ham are a good side, but they're pushing for Europe this season. There is a golfing class, I have to admit, but on our day we can beat anyone. That's the reality of it. We've beaten Man United this season. We've got a very good result and a very good performance out of a couple of games against some tougher teams, especially performance against Chelsea. So on our day we can beat this West Ham team. It's just that they've got a lot of dangerous players. Mikel Antonio especially. He always scores against us, and he's just always around in the box, and has had a bit of a goal drought recently, but now he's back in the goals after last week. And you've got to be careful about Ben Rama, Jared Bowen, all these players that can cause us problems. But we have problems that we can cause West Ham as well. Joshua King has been playing well, and Dennis, of course, is absolutely unbelievable. And we've got to make the most of him until he's going to go off to AFCON, so we've got to make the most of him. How do I see this game going? Well, I think West Ham come into this, they'll be disappointed from that 3-2 Southampton defeat. They'll want to bounce back. They've got a point to prove because of that. So, I don't know. It's difficult. It is difficult, but let's see. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Goals from Joshua King in the 32nd minute and Antonio in the 87th minute. But it's one of those. You take a draw. West Ham are a good side. Just try and put in a lung-busting, full-action performance. We've had a lot of rest, and I know we've only had one training session since after Brentford, where we went into that outbreak of COVID. Let's see what we can do, right? A great team in terms of the lineup selected by Ranieri, really got it right. Midfield, Kutska, Tufan has been given a chance ahead of Loser, which is interesting, but no Cleverley, injury, which is a real shame. But anyway, Sissoko stays in there as usual. And it's good to see that Messina's back in. Rose has not been good, but he's also got an injury. And got Kiko out of the right as usual. But Sierralta, the main talking point, he's back. Much needed, I think. Troost-Ekong, whether he's been dropped based on performances or whether he's got COVID or he's got an injury, we don't know. But you'd imagine this was the week for Sierralta to come in. And he is paired with Cathcart, so that's really good to see. And yeah, just do what we can in this game. Get out West Ham. Try and dictate it as the home side, and let's see what we can do. Come on, you Orns, let's do this. Full time, arriving outside of Vicarage Road, and it's Tuesday night. It's match week number 20 of the Premier League, and to end 2021, it is a very grueling and frustrating and disappointing 4-1 defeat at home to the hands of West Ham United. Oh, dearie me. I mean, look, we were so happy to be back finally after 3 matches called off due to an outbreak of COVID-19 at the Watford stadium and at the Watford ground and at the Watford club. But look, I think those games getting postponed might have done us a favour, to be honest, because we might have lost all 3 of those, and then we would really be looking at some awful form. But look, at the end of the day, it's a difficult one, because going into this, we had, in the space of over 2 weeks, 1 full training session, so the players can't have been up for it. But I can't use that to excuse what today was just a very second half, especially a very sluggish performance. And you know, there was just barely anyone by the end. It was a graveyard of a stadium at that point, because it was just a bit of a limp second half. However, right, there were positives, and the fact is, going forward, we don't have a problem. I mean, the problem you will say is we've only got 1 game left for Emmanuel Dennis, and then he's off to AFCON, and he is basically driving this team through the mud a little bit, and getting us a bit of a, you know, important points. But you know, at this point, we can't all rely it down to one man, and defensively, we just still have the same errors, the same problem of giving the opposition too much space on the ball, too much time, and not closing the gaps, misplacing passes as always. And yeah, it's just, we make West Ham look much better than they really are. You know, West Ham today, you know, they scored goals, fair enough, but they were nothing special. They were a 6 out of 10, but we were so poor. We were a 3 out or a 2 out of 10, and that made West Ham get the goals they did because our defence had given up at that point. So, look, we start the game in a really positive fashion. We were all pumped, of course, back at the Vic. Now, obviously, with COVID and the fact that the Omicron variant has increased and the cases are really shooting up, you kind of understand the hesitancy, right, for a lot of people. And the game was on Amazon, as a lot of these games this week are. So you kind of think, okay, fair enough. But fair enough to the Vicarage, because the Vicarage Road, the Rookery, the Family Stand, Graham Taylor, Elton John, I should say, they all got a great atmosphere once the game had kicked off. And it was bouncing, because we showed that tempo from the start that we did against Villa, but it was too short-lived, unfortunately. It was really good. What a goal. Just Emmanuel Dennis, that is what he is about. He just produced this spectacular, and it was just a really nice team goal, to be honest. We start off fairly well, but Joshua King, really good link-up play, and he works so hard for the team, King. He really does. And it's a lovely little ball slipped into Dennis from King. And Dennis doesn't have many options, right? Because he knows that the Dawson is there. He's trying to close him down. He's not got a lot of space to work with, and it's probably the easiest shot if he goes for Fabianski's right top corner. But no, he thinks, let's put it where Fabianski can't reach it and go back across goal, put it into the top left corner from where Fabianski is standing. A fantastic finish from the Nigerian. What a start, 4 minutes in, and a nice early goal to get the players motivated and pumped and ready to get some more good moments in the game. And you kind of think at that point, right, let's try and do what we did against Villa. Don't just settle for one, go in for the kill. And suddenly, I don't know why we do this, but as soon as we score the first goal, which is not very often, we just go into this panic stations mode. We think, oh, we've just scored a goal. I don't believe it, right? We should be more confident that, yeah, a goal should be something we're used to, and once we do that, we impose ourselves on the game. But that's not the situation here. What it is we're backing into a shell. We're scared because we know our defence is not Premier League level, right? It's not kept a clean sheet all season. I don't see where the next one will be until Newcastle, probably. If that, maybe Norwich, hopefully Norwich, right? But we're clutching at straws if we can't beat Norwich at home. And I think a lot of Watford fans are overreacting. You know, people calling for Ranieri's head. You can't say that, right? The difference between the two matches, Brentford was a very different match to this game. A game in which, again, another goal from Dennis, we go 1-0 up, we can't hold on. But the point there was a lack of decision-making. And actually, the decision-making in the defence, Sierrata was much, much better. I thought Messina was, you know, he's had better games, but he wasn't a nightmare. Kiko Femenia, not brilliant, and obviously went off. We assume that was an injury when we brought on Pedro. So look, the reality of it is that defence isn't Premier League level, and it is an issue. But in terms of going forward, there is so much to be happy about. And Pedro looked fantastic when he came on. You know, really gave that impetus. And what is the issue is there's not enough of that energy throughout the whole team, right? You've got Sissoko, you've got Imran Luaza when he came on, really, really good. How he's not starting more games, I don't know, because he has that passion. He's controlling the midfield in front of that back four, and he looks like that perfect Wilkie's replacement. But we can't just let Sissoko carry all the slack and carry all the weight on his shoulders. He's amazing, and he's still looking so authoritative in that midfield, but you can't make it his job. It's got to be a collective effort, and just some ponderous play today from your likes of Juraj Kutska, just in his own half. You know, all we have to do, Watford, is clear the ball better, right? We're going to be under pressure, and as I'll go on to talk about, West Ham suddenly turned the game around in that first half. We went into our shell, we let West Ham have more of the ball, and suddenly they had a firmer grip on the game, and we just can't seem to, if we're going to defend, we defend, right? But no, we defend and then we can't clear the ball, so then it's back to West Ham and it's back in the danger zone. It's just a constant wave of pressure. So look, fantastic goal from Dennis.
But unfortunately, we do concede the first goal for the West Ham first goal. And look, this is just not defensively good enough, right? It's good play from West Ham. It's good play from Antonio. But it's just like bam, 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 passing through the lines. And that is just too easy. We have to stop the pass at the source. Get there first. Don't let West Ham get cut through you like that. It's like knife through butter. And as soon as we switch off, we are just completely exposed because of how far we attack forward, how, you know, ambitious we are going forward. We leave so much room just to even make passes, but then have shots. And then, of course, we see Souček scoring that first goal. And then just 2 minutes later, right, you think we would have learned from that, but no, again, sleeping. And that is just not... That is not what you'd expect from a defence who haven't kept a clean sheet all season, right? We know there's that's our weakness, but we're not actually dealing with the problem. And Saïd Benrahma gets the pass and puts it in, and it's like, well, 2-1, and I don't know how, from a position of strength, from a buoyant start to the game for Watford, we have now gone 2-1 down, and that really put a, you know, pin in the first half, just sucked the life out of it, and suddenly we couldn't play the way we wanted to. But unfortunately for Watford, that wasn't enough of a deficit for us to get a second goal and get that equaliser. It always felt like a 2-1, even though defensively we looked so much under pressure and under the cosh. We always looked a threat on the counter-attack, especially in the first half. So we come out in the second half. Unfortunately, the situation is that we did lose that attacking impetus that we saw in the first half. I mentioned that substitution for Kiko. We also brought on Luaza, who really did make a good impact. Obviously, a shame about Cleverley's injury, but we need that three of Cleverley, Luza, Sissoko as much as we can every week. Because look, Kutska, I love how, you know, he cares for the club, right? But he doesn't make challenges that are refined enough. He doesn't win the ball enough. I mean, it's a hat-trick of assists from Bowen. Like, that's just showing how we're letting West Ham unnecessarily dictate a game where they weren't superb. We made them look superb. That's the reality of it. So, yeah, Kutska really poor. And then it's a really frustrating one. In a game like this, you think, okay, who's going to step up? And it was a chance today for Ozan Tufan to do just that in the absence of Cleverley. But I honestly do not remember a lot that he did today, and that is a worry for a player that we got him on a decent level of experience. You know, he played a lot of games for Turkey, but he's had a lot of games. You know, he's had flashes against Leeds. I remember nearly scored in that game, but not enough of a complete performance from him. And it's a difficult one. We've got Tabo still out injured with just so many injuries, and now AFCON is not helping the situation. But we need to look at the defending for that goal that West Ham scored in the second half, the third one. Before we come to that though, it was a goal for Jarrod Bowen, and look, defensively not good enough again. Just so slack in our defence, but it was correctly ruled out by VAR. Good use of the video assistant referee there. Clear foul from on Dennis from Souček, and although it was a good finish from Bowen through the legs of Daniel Bachmann, it was rightly ruled out. But classic Watford, a Watfordy thing to do is then forget that hard work to stay in the game. At 2-1, you know, that kind of riled us up a little bit, that goal disallowed. It meant we were actually still in this, and we had a few chances, but ultimately didn't create enough, didn't test Fabianski enough. You know, he did make a few good saves towards the end. Fabianski, I think Sierrata had a header, but ultimately, right, not enough chances as usual. But then that third goal does come in, and you're like, well, all the hard work is just unfortunately put to bed, put in the bin. And when I watched it, right in front of me in the family stand, we were thinking, is that a penalty? Is that really a penalty? It was Bowen that won it, right? So I think my initial reaction was, he's made a meal of it. He's accentuated the contact, and Bachmann, you can see why he's trying to get there, because if he doesn't, then there's going to be either another goal or a penalty. But I have to look that back on Match of the Day. I think that was always a 50-50 call. The VAR, they gave it as a penalty, but I personally thought it was soft. I'll have to see it again. So up steps Mark Noble. Don't know why, but whenever he plays us, he just turns into this maestro midfielder that cannot ever stop himself from scoring against us. So yeah, he suddenly comes in. Obviously, the absence of Rice with his bookings, but you know, you thought with that Rice absence, we would make the most of that midfield. We'd win that midfield battle. And the problem is the defence, but part of that comes through the midfield, where there's not enough protection for that back line. There's not enough winning of the ball. Other than Sissoko, we're just very, very slow in our attacks, and every single time it looks like there's only one or two players in the box. You know, we need more men, we need more support and more help for Dennis, for King, for Pedro if he's coming on. Like Pedro, he was brilliant in that second half, but no one else was on his same wavelength. No one else was helping him and finishing the chances. That chance towards the end, brilliant from Pedro. He does everything right, carries the ball fantastically, gives it perfect past Dennis. Should be a goal, but Fabianski makes the near post save. So look, very, very few positives, but there are positives because, like I say, first half you would not have expected in a game where we were in it, but we were unfortunately defensively poor. We go and bottle that by conceding 4. You know, really not the game that is reflected by that. West Ham, as I said, they got their goals, fair enough to them, right? They got the job done, but they certainly weren't a team that we should be losing 4-1 to. So then Mark Noble puts away the penalty, calm as you like, no chance for Backman, and you're thinking at 3-1, unfortunately, all that hard work might have been put to bed. But yeah, it was a pretty barren atmosphere towards the end, and defensively, just so shoddy for that final goal. I mean, it's just so slow. We'd start to lose the will at that point. And a pull-back pass from Bowen, a finish from Vlasic. You know, he hasn't played a lot of Premier League games. He's usually been used in the Europa League for the Hammers, but even he pops up with a goal off the bench. Really, really poor from Watford. And this does leave us in a precarious situation because, look, the reality of it is, it was hard to judge Ranieri before the Brentford game with the run of games we had. But now with Brentford, a game that we did play well in for 80 minutes and then completely a shambles for the last 10. And then West Ham in this game today, good for the first 10 minutes and good in spells, but defensively our attack has been let down by our defence. So it's a really disappointing thing. I think goalkeeper-wise, Backman had a tough day at the office, right? He made a few good saves, I thought, but ultimately most of the shots he was facing unfortunately went in because there was no protection for him. Although Sierrata had a fantastic game, I thought Cathcart was, you know, pretty average. Didn't have a nightmare, but he also wasn't as good as I was hoping he would be. And then in the midfield, we've talked about Kutzka, absolutely dreadful performance. And Luaza was good when he came on, but I want to see more from Tufan. For sure, I think he just needs to give that little bit more, that little bit extra. And Cucho Hernandez, I felt for him in the first half because, you know, he did get the ball sometimes and was trying to do things, but it wasn't enough. And he did get subbed off for Pedro. Not sorry for the Kiko one. I think that was someone else that came on. But the point of it is, right, we haven't had enough goals right this season. But even when we do score goals, we concede more. So need to sort out our defence. And look, it's a tough match up next. Tottenham on New Year's Day. I mean, I just don't even want to think about it because Son and Kane, they're going to have an absolute field day. So, yeah, it's another defeat. I think that's 5 in a row now, including the tough games. I think we just haven't really got that momentum. But you could argue with the stop-starting nature of this outbreak, it is hard. We just need to really show a performance against Spurs, and it's a must-win against Newcastle, a must-win against Norwich, and then after that, it's a game against West Ham again. So, look, it feels like Groundhog Day. We've said it again, but very, very sloppy when it mattered at the end, but still not as extreme as some fans are making out. Ranieri is still the right man to take us forward. I think just that defence needs investment in the summer. Certainly not in the summer, the January window, because we've not got enough centre backs at the end of the day, and our full backs are getting injured left, right, and centre. Cleverly is getting injured. Rose is getting injured. We move again to Tottenham. Come on, you Horns.